Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Meaning of Fandom. This is the show where we discuss a specific fandom and or character and what it means to our roundtable of special guests and why. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guests on this episode are certainly very well-educated people, and they do have a lot to talk about when it comes to something known as fandom. Please welcome our first guest, indie best-selling writer, and it just happens to be, hey, happy National Writers Day to all the indie writers and non-indie writers out there. David V. Mamina is in the building. Hello, David. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm just very happy to be here, and thank you. Yeah, I mean, National Writers Day, this is the time to find your favorite author and go share it with everybody you know. Make sure someone's reading the books from your favorite author. This is your shot.
There you go. There you go. And we thank you for being here, kind sir. Also joining us is someone, we haven't seen this individual for a while. They've been very busy with other projects and things like that. But he is back with us tonight. And we're very happy to have him here, even though I think he's had one too many shots of caffeine and he knows one too many things about pop culture, specifically different styles and cultures of wrestling, pro wrestling, or amateur, whatever it may be. Please welcome the Prime Fanatic himself and the host of the Fanatic Forum, George Bueller. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing? Wait, too much caffeine. You know I bring this energy all the time. I mean, yes, I've had 3 cups of coffee today, but that's beside the point because I normally have 3 cups of coffee every day. But I love fandom. I love geek stuff. And, hey, I'm with my boys talking about stuff I love. So there you go. How can I not be hyped for this?
Nothing wrong with that, good sir. Well, if you have any thoughts or comments or questions about anything we're discussing when it comes to the Meaning of Fandom on this episode, by all means, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. And if there's a specific fandom that you enjoy, that you're really passionate about, we want to hear about it. So let us know. Be more than happy to hear from you. So with that out of the way, I'm going to turn things over to someone. George, you need a little bit of a timeout. So David, just curious, is there a specific fandom or character that means something to you, and if so, why? What fandom or character are you going with?
Wow. I think he's pretty relevant. Alucard from Castlevania is one of my favorite tragic characters. Since Symphony of the Night, and now in the new Castlevania show on Netflix, I think a lot of people are starting to realize why this guy is such an awesome character. I remember when I was a kid watching Monster Squad. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. Monster Squad is one of my favorites, and as someone's talking on the phone in the background, it says Alucard. And of course, that's Dracula backwards. But what's so awesome about this is Alucard even explains his name is not Alucard, it's Adrian Tepesh, but people call him Alucard because he's the opposite of his father, the opposite of Dracula, his dad, because he is half human, half vampire. So he's almost like Blade in the Middle Ages. He has pretty much all the strengths of vampires and not many of the weaknesses, except for maybe Silver. But he's a gorgeous guy, and he's tragic. He's essentially tasked with having to kill his father because he's lost his mind. He's gone in a blood rage because the people, how they can succumb to mass hysteria. They burn his mother at the stake for being a witch, even though she just practiced medicine and botany. So Dracula goes on a blood rage and begins to kill people, but then he realizes, you know what, humans have had their chance. I'm going to kill everybody. And that's obviously totally insane, because even as a vampire, you need people to eat. So he lost his mind. So Alucard figured I have to do what my mother would want me to do and save the world. So I think he's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Man, geez, spooky season just ended recently. Whew.
Not over yet.
Thanks.
Good.
For some people, it's never over. But, I mean, in that little indie film that no one wants to talk about, Michael Jai White said, "Where you're going, every day is Halloween." So, I guess for you, in some cases, it may be Halloween for you every day. I don't know. That's dark and disturbing. That's an image that's going to keep me up tonight. So, interesting. I'm not overly familiar with this particular character or this. I've heard of the property, yes, but I'm not overly familiar with it. I got to be perfectly honest. But hey, I don't mind learning something new every day, and that's one of the beauties of doing these programs with panelists such as yourself. So don't get me wrong. George, do you have any thoughts on the fandom that David shared with us?
I myself am a Castlevania fan, though I'm definitely more old school than I haven't kept up with some of the newer games. But the Netflix series, of course, is really good. But yeah, I'm definitely familiar with David's favorite character there because Alucard was introduced in the Castlevania 3, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, because that was like a game that was split. It was like between Simon Belmont, some thief guy that was terrible, no one ever used him, and then Alucard. Alucard was cool because he had powers and other special abilities like Simon Belmont did. So yeah, he was very useful in the game. But David's right. Very tragic character. There's a lot of characters throughout literature and comic books and whatever else that are like the sons of evil fathers trying to repair the damage that their parents have done. So it's it's a fairly common story, but still tragic nonetheless.
Interesting. Very interesting. Just out of curiosity, though, and this question goes to both of you. Are there any books or graphic novels? I mean, considering the fact that George just happens to work at something known as a comic book store for a living, by the way, I'm just curious, are there any books, words on a page or graphic novels that if someone's not familiar with Castlevania, that'd be a good introduction for those individuals?
As far as I know, there's not currently any Castlevania comic books out. There have been from time to time. Mostly, you're going to find Castlevania stuff more recently in manga, and and anime inspired stuff, or things that may be based off the Netflix series, which has a very anime style to it, very much an anime inspired style to it. But they haven't really done any comic books per se. So a lot of the mythology is in some manga, some other compendiums people have written or whatever, guidebooks, wherever else. But a lot of the mythology comes from the games itself.
Yeah, I think also to add to that, there are very few Netflix series or really any series or movie that is as excellent and faithful as Castlevania. Castlevania's series, not only is the animation just awesome, the voice acting and quality is so profound. So even if you don't know anything about Castlevania, believe me, they'll walk you through it, and it's a heck of a ride, man. All the way to season 4, and of course now they have this new season with Richter. There's a lot to love, so definitely try and check it out. If you got nothing else to do, do that.
I mean,
I second everything David just said. Yeah.
My TBR and 2BW, which means to be watch list, is like 6 miles long. If I add Castlevania to it, it's just going to kill me. But I wouldn't be against watching it at some point or another. By the way, Dave Manley's here. He says, I played the Castlevania computer game back in the 1980s.
Yay! Diamond Dave.
Fun fact, George and Dave are good buddies. So
yes.
I think, don't you guys live next door to each other or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we do live in the same state. He's in Louisville, I'm in Elizabethtown, so we have about an hour distance. But Dave is also responsible for me being a part of the Cereal Box Networks after thank you for that.
There you go. Credit where credit is due. I didn't. Hey, well done, Dave Manley, getting George Bueller. He finally shows up to school. Even though he's been absent 9 times. 9 times. 9 times. 9 times, George. Anyway,
funny you should bring that up, because last night for Halloween, my wife and I, we watched the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Christy Swanson when it came out in the 90s, well before the TV show. And so Christy Swanson was in Ferris Bueller, and that was her first speaking role.
Really?
Yep. That, he's sick, and they'll pass out 31 flares, all that stuff. Yeah, that was her first speaking role.
Get out of here.
Nope.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go, huh?
You know, it's funny you bring up Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because I spoke to an individual the other day on a social media app, and she told me that she was actually an extra during the series, on the TV series of Buffy the Vampires. It was Sarah Michelle Gellar and company.
Sweet.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that is freaking awesome. To be an extra. And she's like, yeah, we were like, we were there, they were shooting some of the, what do you call it, like the high school scenes, the interiors, exterior shot, whatever it was. And I'm just thinking to myself, whoa, that's awesome.
Was she able to point herself out on screen, like, oh, there I am in the background, or anything like that?
I believe she said that. I mean, I got to go back and double check that, but yeah, I think if she sends me a link to any of the scenes, if there are any certain scenes available, I'd like to see, like, well, where are you in this scene? Like, where are you? Are you in the back? Are you on the left? Are you on the right? Are you in the center shot? Are you in the the medium close up? Are you in a what I mean? Like, this, I was so.
Yeah, I mean, if she's a background player, she's part of the lore for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So because I mean, there's comics that are out now. There's actually, I think, like 3 Buffy comics out.
Really?
There's Buffy. There's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's almost kind of like a continuation of the TV show. It's been going on for a few years now, since since the show wrapped up. It's kind of like if the show never ended. And then there's a series called The Vampire Slayer, which is like Buffy's retired, so is a new person to take over the role, and she was kind of training her. And then there's the newest series is called Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer, and it's kind of like a set in the future. Everybody's older, kind of like a very similar to the Ninja Turtles Last Ronin sort of thing, where it's a darker futuristic sort of thing and a final story sort of deal. So yeah, lots of Buffy stuff going on right now.
Oh, I got to get me one of those. I got to read some of this, man. You got me intrigued.
Yeah, the fandom is alive and well for Buffy.
Fascinating. By the way, Dave Manley goes on to say the Buffy movie is best, according to him. And then Dave Manley goes on to say Paul Rubin's death scene is still the best ever filmed. Is that right?
Also one of the best post-credit scenes too.
Really?
Yeah, well, he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed with a stake, but it's kind of like the movie itself is very goofy.
Would you say would you say it's campy?
Oh yeah, very much so. It's on purpose, like that. But it's very light in tone. Like for a vampire movie that does involve multiple stakings, it has not a lot of blood in it. You do have some blood, not a lot though. There have been more vampire. Fright Night has more blood. I think the 31 Dracula has more blood. Anyway, but yeah, it's very campy and goofy. But yeah, when Paul Rubens gets staked though, like he slumps down to a corner, but it's like he starts kicking the wall and stuff. So he just drags out his death scene. It is a scream.
It is a scream, which actually turned out to be a movie later on in 1996. And now they've made how many? They've made 6 of those now, which is crazy to me. Crazy, they've made 6.
Dude, I will safely say I wasn't a fan of the original Scream movies because I was very tired of Kevin Williamson as a writer because he was the it guy, and I'm not a big Wes Craven fan. But I will say the new ones, 5 and 6, love those. I love them. I like the direction they're taking. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I like the new direction they're taking, and yeah, so I'm here for it.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
Because going back to the originals, I didn't like Scream 2 and 3. I thought the sequels were letdowns, but Scream 1 is still a lot of fun. And then Scream 4, I actually really, really liked because of the twist at the end, not to give anything away, even though it's been out for over 10 flipping years. And it's a good one too. But Scream 4's twist, I thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. This is great. Like, I'm loving this. This is crazy. And the actor and or actress that plays the killer/killers in Scream 4, I thought were brilliant. I thought they were great.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my gosh, it was that. It was them. It was that. I was like, no way. So I was freaking out in the theater. I was like, no, really? Like, it's good. It's good stuff. But I have not seen Scream 5 and 6, so I can't comment or speculate.
If you like 1 a lot, you will definitely like 5.
Mm.
And fans of 4 get a little get a little payback in a good way for Scream 6.
Touche. I'll have to keep that
Yep.
in mind as we go along. Dave Malley goes on to say the principal in the Buffy movie is Stephen Root of all people. Really?
Dude, there's a scene like the big fight scene at the end happens during like their prom or some kind of like spring dance or whatever else.
Really?
And after Buffy's like killed a whole bunch of vampires that were formerly students, but they now are vampires. They're rousing around. Whatnot. Stephen Root is going around and handing out detention slips to the dead vampires.
Oh boy, David, sounds like I need to have myself a movie night and watch this thing, man.
Detention,
Yeah,
detention,
you have a lot
detention.
to make up with. But going back to Scream, I think Scream is one of the movies that was able to survive the onrush of that entire genre that was thrown at us from the late 90s into the early 2000s.
Hmm.
I Know What You Did Last Summer,
Jennifer Love
movie,
Hewitt.
all those. There were so many of them because they said this is the in thing now.
Yeah, this is the
But
it
when,
factor. Yeah.
that's the it factor. But whenever you go to a Halloween store, there's only one of those that was
It's
able to
Ghostface
survive, and it's Ghostface.
every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still relevant. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, what has it been? 20 no, not 25. 96, 2006, 2016. Oh my gosh, it's been 27. Hold on.
Going
20,
on 30 years.
25, 27 years, going on 28. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
almost 30 years that the Scream franchise has been around. So my gosh, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, when you think about other franchises that have been around longer than Scream, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Exorcist,
Halloween,
Halloween, Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yeah. Nightmare
Yeah.
on Elm Street, yeah.
So there's something to a name as long as it's a quality film.
Texas
Then
Chainsaw. Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw has a very rocky reputation for its franchise. Like the original, the original classic. The
74.
second one, the second film, unexpected classic. It was weird, but in a totally different way than the first one. But we loved it.
Really?
And then there's
The ones that came
3
after.
and 4, and then the first remake, and then the prequel of that remake, and
Yep.
then the next remake, and then the 3D remake.
Yep.
And then I think there was another sequel to a remake, and then there was the Netflix series.
Oh my
That
gosh.
many? I didn't realize there were that
They've really
many.
milked this thing for more than it's worth. That's
Always milk
ridiculous.
these
Because
things.
the only
I'm just gonna
I know
cue
there was
the-
a remake/reboot with Texas Chainsaw 3D because I saw the poster in my local movie theater way back when, and then I remember seeing the poster for Texas Chainsaw the reboot with Jessica Biel. So I remember seeing that, and then after that, I just kind of lost
the
track.
Jessica Biel reboot was the early 2000s. That came first. That one wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was 2003. I want to say 2003.
Yeah.
Anybody remember?
Something like that. Yeah, it is a remake of the original. They at least used John Larroquette's voice to open like the original did.
Wow, it was John Larroquette. Jeez.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Didn't know it
Matter
was
of
the
fact,
dude from Night Court.
Yes, that was a very early role of his because he knew Toby Hooper personally, and so he's like, "Hey, you got a great voice. He's like, can you read this opening?" And so he reads the opening for the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice work, Larroquette. And by the way, what was it? Dave Malley goes on to say, I still can't believe there have been so many Saw sequels and reboots.
10.
Yeah.
10 Saw movies. That's not counting Jigsaw and
Spiral.
Yeah.
Which was was that a Chris Rock reboot or an alternate take on the story or something?
No, that is literally it's called from the book of Saw. So it's literally
Saw, yeah.
it takes place after Jigsaw is thought to be dead. I don't know.
Right.
whatever. But as far as the world is concerned, Jigsaw is dead. This is a copycat killer that is doing other very similar Jigsaw-ish sort of things. So this is from the world of Saw, but it doesn't necessarily have to fit in place for anything outside of beyond like the third movie, I think. So
I made the mistake of watching
yeah.
the first Saw, and I couldn't sleep for weeks, so that put me off to the whole franchise. And then I heard that one of my good peoples and one of the best actresses on the planet, Laura Vandervoort, was in Jigsaw. And I'm like, listen, Laura, I've known you for a long time, and I like you a lot. I really do. But I don't know if I can sit through a Saw movie because I saw the first one, and I couldn't sleep for weeks. So as much as I like you, and I like you a lot, you know, like a Jim Carrey, I like it a lot, but not enough to see a Jigsaw movie. I'm sorry. But I know she's done other works outside of Jigsaw, so let's be perfectly honest. Laura Vandervoort's resume is like 6 miles long, and it's going to continue to extend because she's getting great work, and she's a great actress, and she's got a great future ahead of her, so no question about it. I mean, she killed it as Supergirl in Smallville for a few years, so hey, rock on, Laura. David, what were you going to say? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's all good. I was just gonna say, in a lot of fandoms like that in horror, the way I like to watch it, I think, is the original is almost like it's a pitch for an entire franchise. But for me, I like to look at it as this is the original and the rest are something of a bonus. Because Saw ends exactly like a short story should end. It's a shocker, and you're supposed to think about it for a long time, and you're supposed to read it again. And almost all of those movies could be like short stories that you'd watch and say, "Wow, that was a heck of a story." But then what happens is they say, "Oh, they liked it. Let's just do it again." And what happens is the horror becomes the main character of the show, and he becomes like a superhero. And that's when you see him all over in the Halloween places like Spirit and everything like that. So, but I would always recommend go to the original, go back to where it came from. What was able to captivate us, so you could watch the 10th of something. That's the way I like to say.
excellent point. And if you go through the Saw franchise, there are times where they do try to connect to each other because like Lee Wanell's character, who basically is the other guy that wasn't Carrie Elwes in the room in the original. You find out what happened to him in the second film. Carrie Elwes's character comes back at a later film. They bring him back in. So there's all the time they try to make connections, and like you said, they always go back to the original.
Very true.
And even just to get a little further in your point, like the Nightmare on Elm Street series, the original is a classic, but there are a lot of fans that will say the third Dream Warriors is their favorite because it's kind of like the most self-actualized. Freddy has got to be the most of, he's finally fit into what his character is going to be. He knows who he is. And so you get a lot more of the lines and the quips and stuff like that. But then you have like strong characters, with the potential victims. And then again, going back to the original, they bring back Nancy from the original.
Yeah.
So
Heather Langenkamp, if I remember correctly.
Yep. So it goes back to the original, but again, it's you're right. It's a bonus, and it just builds and builds and builds, and hopefully it builds to something good and not just keeps wearing itself down like some other franchises have done.
Certainly.
Boy, we've gotten so analytical about the horror genre, and Halloween just ended. Jeez, let's get over ourselves for a second. But listen, I do want to let you know that this is an episode of the Meaning of Fandom, even though we've been derailed. Be quiet, Richard. A million times over, but that's okay because we like having these conversations because we don't get a chance to hang out as much. So it's the Meaning of Fandom, talking about what a specific fandom or character means to our panelists and why. If you have any questions about it, any comments about it, if there's a specific fandom that you really, really like, hey, maybe you like scary movies, for example. If you like horror movies, hey, for some of us, spooky season never ends, like for David here, apparently. So let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends who may be fans of a certain property or a certain character. And once again, happy National Writers Day to all the writers and incredible people that we know of who are writers, such as David's one of our good friends. He's a writer and he just happens to be on this show. Also, writers such as Brian K. Morris, Bobby Nash, and Cindy Kep, and Michaela Jade, Amy Hale. The list goes on and on and on. And if you have a favorite writer, let us know in the comments as well. Be curious to hear your thoughts. With that being said, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So Dave Manley goes on to say, the first Saw movie was enough for me, and I only watched it because Carrie Elways was in it at the time. Okay, well, hey, he was in it. I don't think that was the primary selling point for me. I just heard a big hype train about it, and I was curious, and then I regret watching it because now I couldn't sleep for weeks. And then he also goes on to say, I celebrate Halloween year-round. Boy, that doesn't sound creepy at all, does it? No.
I got to hang out with Dave Mattingly a few weeks ago when I got to had the pleasure of seeing Evil Dead the musical, which was a blast.
Yeah, how was that for you? Did you have fun?
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, it's basically the play itself. It's a touring play, so it's not just exclusive to the Mind's Eye Theater who put on the production. But it's basically a mashup of Evil Dead's 1 and 2. And they even do make a lot of references to Army of Darkness, but plot-wise, it's 1 and 2. And I forget, there's Bobby Joe from Evil Dead 2. They cut her out entirely because since they still have Ash's sister Annie from 1, they don't need Bobby Joe. Because Bobby Joe, basically in Evil Dead 2, Bobby Joe's the first one that gets possessed, and kind of she starts causing all the problems, all that kind of stuff. So we don't need Bobby Joe. She's superfluous. So other than that, it's a great mashup of the first 2, and lots of fun. The people in the first couple of rows are given ponchos if they still want, because you will get sprayed with fluids. It's hilarious because there's one point in the crescendo of things when Ash is going on a killing spree of killing all the Deadites, and there's some like background players that like during the tree attack scene, they are wearing all black and their shirts just say "Evil Tree," in white letters, and so then they attack Annie. But then later on, there are the blood effects, and so they were carrying like those large canisters like they use for pesticides. You can pump and spray sort of thing. They were just spraying fake blood on the first couple of rows of people walking back and forth. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm not a big musical person, but it was a very enjoyable time, a lot of fun, hilarious, and if you love Evil Dead, it's good stuff.
Boy, there are more images that are going to keep me up tonight. So with that being said, let's get away from the horror. Let's get away from that for a little bit, if we could. Although I'm not holding my breath. George Bueller.
Yes, sir.
Bueller. So I got a question for you. What is a specific fandom or character that means something to you, and why? What's the first one out of the gate?
Oh, it's got to be Mr. Steve Rogers, Captain America. I am a 44-year-old comic book reader, 47 in age, but I've been reading comic books since I was 3 years old. It's kind of where I learned to read. Avengers 163 was my first book. And I've always launched on to the Avengers, but really Captain America. And he's one of those guys that as I've gotten older, I've really learned to appreciate and value the values that he stands for, which is basically, kind of a, liberty for everybody. You live in America, everybody deserves the freedoms and the rights, and whatever else. Doesn't matter what nationality you are, what your orientation, what your religion is, whatever the case may be. You're an American, so I'm here to keep an eye on you, protect you, and see to it that you can live freely. And he's very much into community and everybody helping each other out. The strong help out the weak people, sort of thing. And he's not a jerk or a bully about it. He's trying to be a good person and help out people, and expects you to do the same thing as much as you possibly can. He's not expecting you to do more because he knows he's got more abilities than the average person. But yeah, that's just the things I've always loved about Cap. He doesn't give up. He's been through some stuff. He's been dead twice. So, and he got better after that. So, he's lost the mantle of Captain America twice due to politics and you know bad guys filtering into the U.S. government, sort of things like that. He's lost friends, family. He was basically an orphan at 12 years old. So yeah, he's been through some dark times and he's persevered. He was frozen solid for 60 years and managed to come back from that. So, like I said, he's somebody to admire. That's for sure. And I was very hard pressed against a cinematic Captain America. So like, who could possibly fill these shoes? And I gotta say, Chris Evans, he did it, man. I can't. He made me love the character even more because he kind of added added life to him. But yeah, I mean, I get weepy on about 4 different parts on Endgame. 2 of those are one when Cap wields Mjolnir, and then basically the ending of the movie when he's dancing with Peggy. Like, yeah, every single time, man. So, but yeah, Cap's my guy.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. Before I give my 2 cents, and I'm going to turn things over to Dave here in just a moment because I want to hear his 2 cents on this matter too. Dave Manley says, George, what's your favorite Captain America story or moment when it comes to maybe the comics or something like that?
I gotta say the Winter Soldier storyline as was a fascinating story because as a longtime Captain America fan, it was always kind of a running joke that there were a few people that Marvel would kill off, but they would, there's a few they've never resurrected fully, like the original Captain Marvel, Uncle Ben, Spidey's Uncle Ben, the original Baron von Strucker from World War II, and then Bucky Barnes. And then Ed Brubaker says, "Hold my beer," and gives us the Winter Soldier and resurrects Bucky Barnes. And wow, just the old payoff to Captain America storylines that go back 30, 40 years. Just the interweaving of it is just very, very well done. Great noir setting. Steve Epting's art was just gorgeous. I couldn't imagine anybody else doing that storyline. So there have been some great Captain America stories, but for me, I mean, I know it's a fairly recent one, but yeah, Winter Soldier is just top notch. Absolutely.
Well done, good sir. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. Do greatly appreciate it. David, any thoughts on the hero known as Captain America, who's only been in comics for, I don't know, many decades and decades and decades and decades and decades of history, David?
80 plus years.
Oh, absolutely. I think George picked the perfect choice. As far as Marvel goes, he's my man too. Captain America has been around when the first comic came out during World War II, before America got into it. What is he doing? He's punching Hitler in the face. That's his introduction into our world. And he's sort of forgotten a little bit in the Marvel universe until they say, you know what, we're going to have to bring this guy back. And he's been a staple ever since. He's been the leader, as far as I'm concerned, of what the idea of America could be. So whenever I hear Captain America, I think this is not the captain of the United States of America. This is the captain of the idea of the United States of America. I always thought if there was a fictitious character who would be a perfect leader for our country, it's got to be Steve Rogers. I have to agree totally with George, and I also have to agree with him about his scenes in Endgame. Those scenes are what the fans were hoping for, and they said, you know what, but these are expectations, but it'll never be met. And they go ahead and they do it. And like he said, Chris Evans. I mean, I remember when I first heard he was going to be Captain America. I think Chris Evans too understood this kind of fandom is way above me, and he didn't want to do it. I think he turned it down about 2 times, and then someone finally told him, "Dude, this is your chance to essentially be a legend. You can do this." And boy, did he! From the first movie until his dance, I thought Chris Evans understood the assignment fully. He understood the source material, and man, he got jacked. He was Captain America physically. I mean, my God,
Mhm.
the guy was a tank. I mean,
Yeah.
he was sort of thin. And then all of a sudden he said, wait, I have to be the super soldier? All right, just give me a second. Let me just bulk up to become a beast. And he did. So, but yeah, totally. All the kids in my school that I teach, they all know I love Captain America too. So absolutely, I think you picked. I think you got the right idea there, George.
Thanks, man. And the great thing about Cap as well is that he's branched out in other ways because like there was a period of time where of course Sam Wilson has been the Falcon has been a huge part of Captain America's story since basically the early 70s. But then in more recent years, he himself has taken the mantle of Captain America, just like in the shows and the movies, and to a point where he's at fairly recently, he and Steve Rogers had their own books. Like Sam has Captain America with his own book, Steve with his own book as Captain America. So you had two for the price of one. And then there was also a miniseries they did called The United States of Captain America, where basically Steve, Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, and John Walker, U.S. agent, also a ex Captain America himself, go on this road trip and end up meeting all these other Captain Americas around the country that represent like different demographics, different subcultures, whatever else, and they've been inspired by Steve or Sam's or whoever's actions and taken on the mantle themselves. Like there was a young boy who was like, I think he was like a teenage runaway sort of thing like that, homosexual and kind of running the rails, doing, running like railroads and stuff like that. And so he was a protector of runaway kids and kids who were just like him. But he dressed up like Captain America, made a shield out of like a trash can lid or whatever else. But he was representative of his culture and protected his culture just like Steve did. So, but there was all these like each issue. I think it was like a 6-issue series. Like each issue, they would come across a different part of America, and somebody had taken the mantle of Captain America for themselves and was doing something to protect their community. So it was a beautiful series.
I think I might even add to that, George, that Captain America himself, in the comics, he wasn't as big as I think he is now. I think people, whenever they would read Captain America, you'd almost have to throw Wolverine in there. You'd have to throw in Spider-Man. 'Cause a lot of people weren't really looking at it, and Spider-Man was the guy that could bring everyone together. Just like I remember there were plenty of Thor comics, but you had to have Spider-Man in it. You had to have Wolverine somehow. You had to put
Yep.
someone else. Someone read this story, and then all of a sudden the movies come out, and people are like, "Whoa, Captain America is awesome. What else has he been
Mhm.
in? How have I missed this entire time?" So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, you're right. The 80s, the 70s and the 80s, it was Spider-Man was in everything. That was like because he was the big character. So it's like if you wanted to push a new guy, team him up with Spidey. In the 90s, Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted somebody to be popular, team with Wolverine.
Man, my goodness. Learned a lot tonight on this show. I'm loving it. By the way, Dave Manley goes on to say, my feelings about Cap are like what Falcon said about him. I do what he does, just slower. Then,
Don't we all?
fair point, man. Fair point. And Dave Manley goes on to say, I'm still amazed that Cap holding down Bucky's helicopter during the events of Captain America's Civil War. So, yeah, that was
He's
ridiculous.
strong.
He got jacked, dude. Steve, let's talk about this for a minute because Chris Evans has been in the game a long time. He's been acting
Mhm.
for years and years and years. But the first time I noticed him professionally, because I don't know him personally, although that would be cool if I knew him personally, because then I would get him on the show. But I saw him in smaller films, and then I saw him in Fantastic Four in 2005. Then I saw the sequel that came after that with Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then all of a sudden the MCU was not really formed yet, but it was starting to happen with 2008's Iron Man, and then came, and also like not even like 2 months after that, you had the Incredible Hulk, which I think is a
Right.
criminally underrated comic movie, by the way. Then you had the other chapters in the first phase of the MCU, and then all of a sudden, Chris Evans comes back and he says, "Hey, I played this character in Fantastic Four, but this is different. This is a whole new ball game." And he comes in as Captain America, and I'm thinking, "Wait a minute, weren't you just in Fantastic? Wait a minute, how can you play the Human Torch and Captain America at the same time? I don't get it." But then when you watch the film, you realize, oh, this is a different ball game now. And his craft, his acting chops are getting sharper. He's growing as a person and as an actor, and he's getting better, and he's learning more and more as he goes through the process of these movies. So I'm thinking, wow, you go from playing a goofy, guy who's happy he's got these powers kind of thing to a dramatic hero who's been through some serious stuff. And he's able to overcome that and become the hero that is known in the comic books, known as Captain America / Steve Rogers, with all due respect. First film comes out, it's good. And then all of a sudden they turn out a couple years later with one of the greatest comic movies of all time. And I'm talking about Captain America, the Winter freaking Soldier, Jack. That's one of the best. I mean, honestly, some people still call it to this day. Maybe they don't. I don't know. The rankings may have changed in the last number of years since I looked. But for me, not counting the team-up movies, because that's a separate thing altogether, Captain America: The Winter Soldier to me is the best solo MCU movie that's been made up to that point, or ever been made. Period. So
I would agree. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that film is. I mean, you have the jokes, but it's a really serious, dark, messed up movie.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a political thriller. And it's, and the filmmakers wanted it that way because it was kind of a throwback to the 70s because, lo and behold, Robert Redford's in the freaking movie. So.
And also it throws back to the late 70s, early 80s period of the comic as well, which was a very, humanized political sort of thing like that. And Captain America, Falcon, Black Widow were all three very heavy throughout that book. Matter of fact, for years, the book was called Captain America and the Falcon. So,
I was not aware of that.
I think we also have to give credit to the fact that this movie was the launching off point for the Russo brothers. I think that's when they said, wait a minute, these guys know how to make a movie. Yeah. And here they are directing. Look at what they did in Infinity War and Endgame. And it really was the Endgame. That they closed the book on it flawlessly.
They really did.
Did a great job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were comedy guys too. Before they walked into the MCU office, they were comedy guys directing episodes of Community, and now all of a sudden they're directing big budget blockbuster films. So the crazy things that happen, in Hollywood.
There's some great gimmick episodes of Community though, like all the paintball episodes they did each season. All had a different theme to it, or just extravagant episodes, or like the holiday ones they do, or the D&D episode. I mean, good God, they put some production value into some of that stuff.
That is fascinating stuff. And also, I do want to let you know that I read this a while back. This is going a little bit, a little while ago. I did read the paperback of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the book, the graphic novel, and I got to tell you something. The artwork is fantastic, and the story is pretty darn good. It hits you almost as good as the movie. So, like, both the movie and the graphic novel, I highly advise you to read and watch both. Like, just go at it, because that is a great storyline. And Brew Baker and the creative team, everybody who worked on that graphic novel, did a fantastic job. Hey, there's a Marvel word for you. So, well done.
Spectacular, even.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? Just it's incredible. Oh, there's another one. I just let it slip.
Amazing,
and what's another one? What are we missing? That movie is so invincible, almost like a guy in an iron suit. No, I'm kidding. Wasn't that the name of the? I'm just thinking of another character. His movie came out. His first one, anyway, came out in 2008. I'm not discouraging that. But anyway, for those of you just tuning in and wondering what the bantha fodder is going on, this is the meaning of fandom, when we're talking about what a specific fandom and/or character means to our panelists and why. If you have a specific fandom or character that you wish to share with us, by all means, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And hey, it's National Writers Day, so let us know who your favorite writers are in the comments too. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. Hey, what's your favorite Captain America comic book? How about that? That's a great question. It's a brilliant question, actually. What's your, I don't know, favorite comic book in general? I don't know what it is. Let us know. I'm curious to hear the answer to the question. But with that being said, oh yeah, go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
One last point about Captain America. This is something I thought about recently. Recently, actually watching Endgame. when Captain America first meets Falcon in Winter Soldier,
On your left.
he's learning. Yeah, well, he's learning about Sam, and Sam's talking about that he also has a group where basically for other vets who want to talk about their experiences, and kind of help out or whatever else. It's like a therapy group, right? So then, what happens in Endgame? Steve starts up a group therapy for people who basically lost people in the snap. So
right.
a rare instance where someone inspires Steve to do good, as opposed to the other way around.
That's right.
And he was doing it for Sam because he lost Sam.
Yeah, he got dusted, didn't he? Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there you go. So he was doing that. So he was mourning the loss of his friend by carrying on something he did that was meaningful and helpful.
Amazing how things come full circle here, George.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And by the way, Dave Malley goes on to say, a favorite author of mine is Jim Butcher, writer of the Dresden Files series about a wizard detective in the city of Chicago with them bears.
Yeah, that's a fun series.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I haven't read it though. I'm sorry. Have you read any of it, David? Are you familiar with
No,
Dresden?
I actually haven't. I know of it, but I haven't experienced it myself.
Yeah, I haven't read it. Wasn't there a TV series? Wasn't there a TV series?
Yeah, either a TV show or movie or something along those lines. But yeah, they have adapted it. But yeah, it's fine. It's he's a less saucy Constantine.
A less saucy Constantine.
Yeah, because Constantine's very saucy.
Very saucy. Yeah. All right. Brings the sauce. See, that's what I mean about tequila. That's what I mean about tequila. You're a very bright young man, James, but you need to lay off the sauce. I'll see you bright and early at 9 o'clock. Be there or be square. What movie is that from, guys? Anyone catch that?
Oh, gosh.
Come on now. It's a popular film. Came out some decades ago, but it's very popular.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but yeah.
I know. It's I can't place it.
Oh, this is going to kill David. I think we just stumped David. May have stumped George too. I don't know.
Oh, he's Dave Manley says Men in Black.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. Great. Thanks for giving it away.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it was
Someone
Men in
gotta
Black.
get it. Oh, man.
It was Men in Black. It's the scene where he neuralizes him, but he takes him to a restaurant to kind of like, or no. It's before that. He takes him to this restaurant to like talk about what he saw in the store with Tony Shalhoub's character, the gun dealer. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My wife's a bigger fan of the Men in Black films than I am, so basically if they're on, she's watching them, and so by default, I'm probably watching them too. But I mean, they're fun, but I wouldn't say I'm like a huge fan of those. So yeah, it's probably why I recognize the quote, but didn't get it. So
okay, I was gonna say there's more than one. I don't remember there being any sequels to Men in Black that I know of. There's only one.
Yeah.
Did you get neuralized?
No. Yeah, the sequels got neuralized. They don't exist. I don't know. Some people defend MIB3, but I didn't care to watch it because MIB2 was so disappointing. But
I never bothered with the fourth one, even though I had Chris Hemsworth
between the
and
the soft reboot, Men in Black International.
Yeah, because it was what Chris Hemsworth and Valkyrie. I can't remember the.
Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, Tessa Thompson. Yeah, Tessa Thompson. Yeah.
It had Thor and Valkyrie, and I'm thinking this isn't a Men in Black movie. This is a Thor and Valkyrie movie dressing up with suits on. I don't know what that means.
If they would have used less guns and more swords, I probably would have actually seen it. So
really,
because it was like, oh hey, cool. I like both those people, and I look at the trailer, I'm like, yeah, no.
Maybe not so much. By the way, Dave Manley says or clarifies there was a Dresden Files television series starring Paul Blackthorne from CW's Arrow, but it took a lot of creative liberties with the property.
Uh-huh.
I see. And then Dave Manley goes on to say, but honey, this one's eating my popcorn. That's another line from MIB, the first one, because the sequels don't exist. The Men in Black cartoon series was extremely good back in the day. I watched a few episodes of that as a kid back in the day. So those were fun. I don't have overly fond memories of it. Like I didn't religiously watch it like I did other shows back then, but I watched a few episodes. Like I did Extreme Ghostbusters. I saw a few episodes of that. I don't know. And then he says, MIB3 stars Brolin as a young Agent K. It's worth watching. Sorry, Dave, I'm not going to. It's not happening. I don't like 2. There's no way I'm going to like 3.
Now, here's the interesting question for you, Ryan. Have you ever read any of the comics?
No, but I
Because
know,
yes,
you have a ton of them in your shop that you're going to recommend to me and send them over to me airmail.
no. Men in Black was based off a comic that was released by Malibu, I think, like early eight or like mid late '80s, whatnot.
Really
Short run series, whatever else has
came and went.
came and went, has remained, even despite the films, has still remained obscure, hasn't been reprinted. They haven't revisited in comics again. It's really weird, but yeah. And also, both agents were white, but they were basically they were white and they were blonde, and basically they had almost like no personality. So like
they were Beach Boys.
The movies kind of took the idea and ran with it a little bit further.
I mean,
the comics are pretty basic. It's probably why they haven't survived much.
All right, so note to David and I: don't read those comics. And then the other thing that I noticed is
not great. Yeah.
During George's rant, there is what was the other thing I noticed? Oh yeah, I will give Men in Black credit for this. Linda Fiorentino being in the movie was quite well. I mean, I'm not HOTT isn't the right word, but she's cute. Yeah, she's good looking. I mean, I know
she's hot.
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't know if I go that far, but she's cute. She's got qualities. But the other movie,
I can point you to a couple movies she did in the 90s.
I know. The other movie she was in years ago before Men in Black was Vision Quest. I know.
No. I'm talking about stuff she did in the 90s.
Oh, she did
stuff that involves nakedness.
Was this? Oh gosh, don't tell me. Boogie Nights?
No, she wasn't in that.
She wasn't in Boogie Nights.
No.
What movie are you thinking of?
Let's see. Jade was one of them, but she had like 3 movies.
Really?
All in a row that were like these like erotic thrillers.
Whoa!
And usually she was the one killing people. It's like she was the bad person. But yeah, she's all kinds of naked in a lot of those movies.
Was Basic Instinct one of them?
No, that was Sharon Stone.
That was no. But Sharon Stone had a lover in that.
But it was not Linda Fiorentino.
That was not Linda. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. This is taking us into a weird turn of events. By the way, Dave Manley says Men in Black International, also known as MIB the reboot, was worth watching at least once. Liam Neeson was great as the new boss of the agency. Okay. And then he also says the Men in Black comic book series in the 1980s was inspired by, what does it say? By a departed friend of mine. Really?
No kidding.
Dave, it was inspired by a departed friend of yours? Holy cow. Oh, Linda Fiorentino was also in the movie Dogma.
Yes, she was.
So that's another one. Okay.
So there's 1994's The Last Seduction, which actually it's a good movie. That's a good movie. Actually.
I never heard of it, by the way.
It was 94, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I had nakedness, so you're probably young.
I was too young. I did.
Then there was 1995's Jade, which also stars David Caruso pre-CSI, but you can see where he got all of his gimmicks from CSI from.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh yeah, all the ripping off the glasses and all that kind of.
Which you mean put on the shades after he says drops that one-liner on your face and then walks out of camera?
And
I like CSI Miami personally. I know it has a lot of haters out there, but I personally do enjoy watching reruns of CSI Miami. I don't know about you, David, but I like CSI Miami.
I watch Forensic Files, so sorry.
Oh no, that's cool. Hey, listen, I don't mind Forensic Files either. I watch it too. By the way, do you know you can stream that for free on Tubi?
Oh yeah, I watch it on Hulu all the time.
Oh, and Hulu. He watches it on Hulu.
My wife's a hardcore
Is it a true crime fan? Is that what she is?
Oh yeah, especially Forensic Files. But there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, we both like that. I'm fascinated with serial killers, cold case stuff like that. So anytime like Netflix does those 4 or 5 part documentaries on
what's that?
I forget. I think there's a series they have now where basically it's like detectives talking about famous cases they worked on. Usually it was serial killers and whatnot, but these were all ones that were people that were caught. So there's a beginning, middle, and end to all these stories. But it's cool to have all the investigators talk about the stories and the case and all that kind of jazz.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's a bunch of channels. I mean, some people don't watch TV anymore, and that's fine. But ID Discovery has a lot of crime dramas and call it true crime stories, I should say. Is that the right word? Okay, we'll leave it at that. If anyone else is a fan of true crime and you have a favorite true crime writer or series that you're a fan of, and you want to get darker into this deep rabbit hole that we've been going down for the last 55 minutes of my life, let us know by all means. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because apparently spooky season never ended for George and David over here, even though it ended for me. But
Dude, one of these days, I'm gonna strap you down to a chair and make you watch Cannibal Holocaust. You'll never be the same again.
Oh no! Next thing you know, David, he's going to strap me down and have me watch Trick or Treat and Children of the Corn and all that other weird stuff. So who knows?
Dude, movies. And which Trick or Treat are you talking about? The Anthology 2009 or the 1986 metal classic?
The 2009 and whatever it was.
Well, that one's fun too. I enjoyed that one, but yeah.
Yeah, that one is what I was referring to because I remember seeing the poster and the trailer for it on a DVD set that I have. So there you go. You're welcome.
Dude, that movie was 2 years on the shelf, finished, and spent 2 years on the shelf for Warner Brothers to release it finally.
I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen the poster and I've seen the trailer, so I kind of get the gist.
It is a perfect Halloween movie because it's a little anthology movie. It's got all these little stories. They're somewhat connected, but it's a perfect Halloween movie.
Is it? Okay.
Well, because it takes place on Halloween's in a little small town.
Really, I couldn't tell by the title of the movie on the poster. But anyway,
kids are actually trick or treating, but there's also murder and mayhem going on in the town as well. So, but yeah, just perfect Halloween movie.
Isn't this wonderful? The last 55 minutes of images are going to be stuck in my head tonight. Thanks, guys. I'm not going to be able to sleep for the next 2 months. So with that being said, this is the Meaning of Fandom. If you have any questions or comments about anything we're discussing, by all means, let us know. Don't forget to like and share this episode with all of your closest friends, if you dare. And if you want to dive into this deep rabbit hole of craziness that we've dove into, if you want to just do it the easy way and kneel. Come and kneel before Assad. Anyway, that's not my answer to the question. So before we get to our next fandom, I'm going to take a moment to share with you one of my favorite fandoms that I'm a big fan of, and that means a lot to me, just, almost as much as the Captain America means to one of our panelists, and then Castlevania, et cetera, means to another one of our panelists. But before I share what that particular fandom is, we have this for you, so take a look.
Get ready, kids, because it's the Power Rangers on home video like you've never seen them before. There's 10 hot, more phenomenal video classics now in bright new packages. And now each 30-minute video includes a special feature interview with the Rangers themselves that's not available on TV. Yes! Woo! The 10 repackaged breakthrough videos include Day of the Dumpster, High Five, Food Fight, Happy Birthday Zach, and No Clowning Around. Plus, there's the most popular Ranger of all, the Green Ranger Tommy, in his very own miniseries titled Green with Evil, consisting of the other 5 action-packed videos. Out of Control, Jason's Battle, The Rescue, Eclipsing Megazord, and finally, Breaking the Spell. And the Power Rangers excitement just keeps on growing in 3 brand new videos. These 3 new titles are The Wannabe Ranger, Putty on the Brain, and Bloom of Doom. This new triple power play of video excitement includes a new bad guy, their most menacing adversary yet, the new alien leader, Lord Zed. New Power Zords, fantastic creatures of unbelievable power. Plus, they each contain a special new power music video. So get ready for more power, more fun, more action, and more special effects with these 13 great Power Ranger home videos.
Well, I don't know if anyone got nostalgic during that bad boy, but I sure as heck did. So I'm wearing the shirt that proves it, even though it's kind of hard to see in the collage of it here. But let's talk about this for a minute. So on August 28th, 1993, you have a 6-year-old kid coming home from school. He jumps on the couch and he wants to watch television. What could I possibly watch that's going to blow my mind and knock my socks off? Well, let's talk about that property. This show, the very first one, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, debuted on August 28th, 1993, which, by the way, celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. My hat's off to the entire cast and crew of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for kickstarting what is known as a great childhood of mine in 1993. Because when this show debuted, and me and my other friends in kindergarten, first grade, et cetera, were watching the living heck out of this thing, and we were practicing the moves, the poses, the voiceovers, the monsters, whatever it was, at recess. The greatest time of your life when you're in elementary school, my friends. When you get to play with your friends, let your imaginations run wild and crazy. Almost as good as Wild and Crazy Kids, which was a great game show on Nickelodeon when Nickelodeon knew how to run a network properly. Not so much now, but they did back then. So This show was my favorite thing in my favorite show anyway at the time of my childhood. I'm not going to lie. This show was so good and so impactful to the point where I dressed up for Halloween as these characters. I begged my parents to buy the VHS tapes. I begged my parents to buy me the flip head figures, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, those flip head figures from Bandai. Hashtag not a sponsor. And I loved it. I ate it up. I loved it so much. Giant robots beating the living heck out of each other, people defending their territory, people defending the world against the forces of darkness, the forces of evil. Whether it was Rita Repulsa having 30,000 headaches a week, or Lord Zed, voiced by the incredible late, great Robert Axelrod, coming in there and freaking us the heck out, giving us nightmares. I mean, what more could a 6-year-old kid ask for? Teenagers with attitude who go through similar struggles that we were going through. Like Billy, for example, the Blue Ranger, he went through bullying. I know what that's like. I've been there. It sucks. It's no fun. Then you got Zach coming in there with his charm and his humor. You got Kimberly and Trini, having this sisterly bond and being there for their fellow Rangers and helping them when they needed it most. You had Jason, who was the flippin' leader of the pack, the wolf pack, with a power sword and a T-Rex. Say again, we have T-Rex. I mean, that's better than going to Jurassic Park, Spielberg. So I loved this show growing up. I watched it for years, watched it until 2001's Power Rangers Time Force. That was the last completed season of the series that I watched. And then I, moved on to something else. I moved on to other shows and other properties that, we can mention later on in the show if you want. And then I just let it go. But then years later, these little magical things called Diva-Does were coming out. And Shout Factory took it upon themselves to re-release to put out all the seasons, all the series, all of it on Diva-Da in one giant box set for us fans that grew up with this property as children to go back and relive that greatness, that nostalgia, and time again. So what did I do in 2013 when those Diva-Does were coming out for the 20th anniversary? You bet your bottom dollar. I bought that. I bought seasons 4 through 7. I bought seasons 7 through 12. Even though I stopped watching at season 9 or whatever it was, but whatever, that's beside the point. So if one of the things I learned from this show is that, first of all, one of the best things about the show is to show these characters, they're not perfect. They have these powers, but they're not perfect, right? They're flawed. They make mistakes. They learn from things. They struggle with stuff. They struggle with doing their homework. They struggle with bullying, which is what I struggled with. And that was rough for a long time. It really was. So I could relate to the Blue Ranger Billy, even though he's not pictured on this image here, on a certain level. And then Jason was my favorite Ranger from the beginning because he was the leader. He, what is it called? Walk softly, carry a big stick. He knew when to lay the smack down on evil's canny you-know-what, because I'm trying to keep this family friendly. And when these actors started going to conventions and meeting the fans, I had to jump on the wagon. George. So one of my first shows I ever went to was Lexington Comic and Toy Convention in Lexington, Kentucky, because a lot of the legendary Ranger actors were there, including actors and actresses such as David Yost, Walter Jones, Nakia Burrese, Catherine Sutherland, Serena Vincent from Lost Galaxy. You had Austin St. John, who played Jason, my favorite Ranger growing up. And he was there. And I met him. And I loved every minute of it. So to meet these actors who you grew up watching as a kid and to see them all these years later giving back to the fans that made them, that means something. That's special. And you got to hold on to that. So I got to tell you, Power Rangers taught me a couple of things, but the biggest thing that show taught me was the power of teamwork overcomes all. No matter what someone is going through, if you got someone you got to go to and talk to, you do it. And when you have a problem, you work it out, but you don't have to do it alone. You can call your friends. The people who are your friends are the ones who are going to be there for you through thick and thin. Just like all the Rangers were there for each other in their respective seasons when things got tough. When someone was at their lowest, the team was at their best. And that's one of the best things you can learn from anything in life. It's one of the best things you can learn from any series. And many TV series have done this whole, power, teamwork overcomes all dynamic. You've seen it in the comics. You've seen it in television. You've seen it in movies. You've seen it. Look at the Avengers. When they come together, you don't want to come across them and do something wrong because they will destroy you. When it comes to the Justice League, same story. They will come together and accomplish their goals no matter what it takes to the bitter end. So Power Rangers means so much to me because not only was it a childhood property, but it's something I can still enjoy 25, 30 years later. And I have no shame in saying that. Listen, full disclosure, I'm going to give a little hashtag minor spoiler of my life. I'm 36, and I still can go on YouTube and watch episodes of Power Rangers and still get that same joy that I got from it when I was 6. And I don't think there's a problem with that. If you want to watch something that came out 40 years ago that you enjoyed as a child, that you still enjoy to this day as an adult, why not do it? Sure. Honestly, I was talking to friends of mine yesterday who were fans of certain properties, and we were on the social media app, and I took the liberty of pulling up the theme songs for those said properties, and I played it for them. And it brought back and they said to me, Ryan, thank you for playing that because that brought back all my nostalgia, like all those feelings that I had when I was a kid watching it on live television. It's like, yeah, it's a great feeling. Why wouldn't you want that? It's beautiful. So Power Rangers for me is one of my all-time favorite fandoms. And granted, I haven't met all my actors from all the seasons that I've seen, but I've met a lot of them over the years through different conventions, such as Lexington Comic and Toy Convention. Hello, Lexington. You guys are great. To come back one day. And it's been great, and I love it. So, and another thing I got to give credit to, Power Rangers has grown a lot, not just in terms of the franchise as the TV series and the movies have come out, but the comic books. Boom Comics has been nailing it. I mean, I've read some of the graphic
3 titles.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some of the graphic novels and the standalone stories. Sorry, George, I can't keep up with all the single issues because I don't have that kind of time like you do.
Nah, you're good, yeah.
But the storylines in the comic books are great because they realize that the fans who grew up on it want to see like these stories told in a bit of a more mature, darker manner because we're old enough to understand that, being a Power Ranger is not sunshine and rainbows. It really isn't. You can go through some serious stuff in certain books, according to, by the way, this is Boom Comics I'm giving credit to. So if you want to know how the property has matured and grown, go and read the comics, especially the ones that are going on the last couple of years because they have been killing it. So that's my thought on Power Rangers. I'm a fan of MMPR all the way up to Time Force, which ends in 2001. That's just giving you a timeline frame there, George. But that's my thoughts. I'm just curious, though. David, are you familiar with the Teenagers with Attitude by any chance? And if so, any memories of that?
Teenagers with Attitude? I think I teach them every day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But speaking of the Teenagers with Attitude, last year I ran an 80s and 90s club, and you wouldn't believe what the kids know. The kids today know everything about the nostalgic 80s and 90s. I had kids come in and they say, we want to watch Power Rangers. I said, what? You know the Power Rangers? What? And they even told me we want to watch this episode. I said, you even know the number of the episode? They say, yeah, it's on Netflix. So that it is still alive and well. And I remember when I was a kid thinking, this is not one of the other shows that I'm used to. So for us kids, we didn't understand it, but maybe from an adult perspective, they knew this is coming from overseas. This is an inspiration that has translated in America, and it hit the market, and it hit us good. And it just carried on. And I remember the same thing, fight with all my friends and who's your favorite Ranger. I remember playing the video games, and it was an absolute blast still. And I think we were talking about Halloween. Look at how many Power Rangers are still around, how many kids and how many adults. So to say that this isn't a major fandom, you're just kidding yourself.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there, George? Even though you're 3 times older than we are.
True. Well, it kind of go on your point there, David, with kids finding older fandoms and stuff. I was fascinated when I was working when I first started working in the comic shop. that young kids like, 10, 11, 12, 13 were coming in looking for Garbage Pail Kid comics. And which is fascinating because like, I don't want to be a gatekeeper, but like, how do you know about Garbage Pail Kids? It's like, this is like a franchise that like lasted, it's like, it's definitely a nostalgic throwback, but it's like, my initial statement was, well, it's not like they're still making the cards, are they? Like, oh, actually, they started bringing the cards back. Like, oh, great. Okay. So, so yeah, kids today, I mean, the power of the internet, they're going to, it's like they will find anything. Power Rangers, for me personally, was something like when it came out in '93. I was driving. I was a junior in high school, and I had a full time job. So Power Rangers was not on my radar. Growing up, we had Godzilla stuff and Ultraman, so we were definitely used to kaiju and dudes in suits or giant robots or whatever else fighting other kaiju. So it was not a foreign concept to me, but it was kind of that was never one of my stronger fandoms. I do enjoy the occasional Godzilla movie, the Monolith universe that's out right now. I like those movies, so those are kind of cool. So it's just it was not poo pooing on your fandom whatsoever. You like Power Rangers, go right ahead. But yeah, it was never my thing. It was just maybe if I was a little younger, it probably would have hit me in the right mark. But yeah, I had too many other fandoms already at that point, I think.
No, I gotcha. And then let's see. Dave Madley goes on to say another big fan of mine is improv comedy. Okay, that's interesting. And then he goes on to say my on-air radio name in the '80s was New Wave Dave. Then they came out with a Garbage Pail Kid with that name.
Actually, yeah, he's right.
Oh no, is that true?
They have some good ones, man.
There was New Wave Dave. Oh no.
Yeah, I think he was had like a weird looking mohawk, with crazy sunglasses, had like a big giant safety pin that went through his nose, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, Dave Manley. You had to go through that Garbage Pail Kid phase, man. Oh,
that was a great phase.
That's a yeah. For some of you, it may have been. I don't know. Oh
yeah. I mean, Garbage Pail Kids were definitely a hot commodity when I was in middle school and junior high. That was just that was the thing, man. Everybody did those. So, and there were some parents that were weird about it. Fortunately, mine weren't. It was just stupid, gross out humor. But I knew one kid that he like every week would be going to this local convenience store, spending his allowance money on like as many Garbage Pail Kid packs as he can get, and he had the most in our class. But yeah, it was some serious stuff back then.
I don't know too much about the property known as the Garbage Pail Kids. I remember this candy that I don't know if this is still around or not, and I apologize if I'm saying this wrong. I believe they were called Airheads.
Oh yeah.
So I remember seeing Airhead packages floating around my schools because all the kids were gobbling them up by the dozen, but that wasn't my thing. But I remember seeing Airheads, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a weird looking packaging for a candy, dude.
It's taffy.
Taffy, thank you. But it's just weird to me. It just threw me off. I don't know.
Yeah. No relation whatsoever to Garbage Pail Kids.
All right. But
Garbage Pail Kids were basically just a a parody of the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Ah, got it. All right. So
which were the cultural impact that Cabbage Patch Kids had is still felt today on every single Black Friday, because there's always going to be a fight over something that a bunch of people want, and there's not enough of it, and they will fight each other for it, because there is still video of parents fighting each other, ripping dolls away from children so they can get it for their own child. Craziness stuff.
Almost as crazy as a mailman and a father trying to get a Turbo Man for his kid and Jingle All the Way.
Equally. I would say equally.
Who told you could eat my cookies?
My cookies.
Oh no!
Put that cookie down. He's like, oh, these cookies. I gotta get the recipe from Liz. Oh man, you know what? We miss you, Phil Hartman. My gosh.
Yeah.
He was such a good antagonist in that movie.
It was. But who would have thought the comedic pairing that we would enjoy would be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad.
In the same movie at the same time? Because Sinbad, for me, I grew up watching him in First Kid, the Disney movie First Kid. And then he was in House Guest with Phil Hartman.
I grew up watching him on A Different World because I'm old.
Because you're older than the fossils that were dug up in Jurassic Park. So, see, here I am now in a car.
I'm 2 years younger than those fossils. Thank you very much.
I was gonna say, here I am now talking to myself. That's chaos theory. With that being said, this.
Ryan, you're cool, but you're not Jeff Goldblum cool.
No, I could be. I can do a very good impression of Jeff. I mean, he and I are good friends, so I can.
But you're not the original, though.
No, I'm not the original, but I can still do great impressions of Jeff Goldblum. I mean, come on, how hard is it to do? It's not that hard to do an impression of Jeff Goldblum. I mean, that's just my opinion. I may be wrong, but hey, that's my 2 cents on the matter. But hey, listen.
I don't know. Let's see you laying around shirtless in a leather vest on a Jeep, man. We'll talk.
Everybody hear that?
That's a challenge.
I think it's a signal for us to get out of here. Come on. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here now, right now. We gotta get. Come on, go. Sorry.
Must go now.
And then the mirror, when the T-Rex is about to bite it off, it's like objects are closer than they appear. I love it. And then Dave Manley goes on to say, "Your kids grew up watching Sinbad, but I grew up watching the 7th Voyage of Sinbad."
Yeah, me too, Dave.
Oh man.
Though I lean more for my Ray Harryhausen, Jason and the Argonauts. That's there. That's quality right there.
Oh, I haven't seen Jason and the Argonauts.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's the stop motion, right? Is that what that one is?
Is that what that is?
7th Voyage of Sinbad. Yeah, Jason and the Argonauts.
I haven't seen it.
Clash of the Titans was Ray Harryhausen's last film. Just great mythological fantasy epics with stop motion animation for the monsters and creatures and stuff like that. Glorious stuff, man. That's a Saturday morning matinee if I ever heard one.
Definitely.
And, Dave wants you to know, George, that he's laying shirtless on the Jeep right now, actually.
Jeez.
Not to get graphic on this show, but stranger things have happened. So, anybody hear that? It's Dave Manley, I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they oh darn, I can't remember the line. I do ask that they learn from him or whatever.
It messed you up, man.
Thanks a lot, Dave. I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they learn from them or repair them. Whatever. I don't know what the line. Forget it. You know what I'm talking about. You know what actor I'm talking about. You know what scene I'm talking about. It's with Dennis Nedry. You know what I'm saying. So let's just leave it there. Sorry, Richard Attenborough. I'm so sorry. Although I will say, I did rewatch his movie I think it was a week or two ago. The remake, I should say, of Miracle on 34th Street. Great remake. Yeah. And Richard Attenborough was great. He was fantastic. So was Mara freaking Wilson. Oh my gosh. Incredible in that movie. So if you haven't seen the remake of Miracle on 34th Street, feel free to revisit it because it is a good holiday watch. So if anyone's curious, just throw that. We are in November now, so it's getting into the holiday season.
We still have Thanksgiving. Thank you very much.
I know, but I did say holiday season. I didn't say like a specific holiday. I said holiday season.
Well, then you can watch all the Thanksgiving movies you want, and then basically on November 25th or 26th, whatever Thanksgiving is, then you can watch all the Christmas movies you want after that. But we will respect the timeless and the seasons.
That's what we do, according to George. That's the law according to George. It's like you can't watch any other holiday movies except for Thanksgiving stuff before Thanksgiving, and then after Thanksgiving you can start watching the Christmas stuff. And I'm like, what? Really?
I was in the comic shop closing up on Tuesday night, Halloween, and a reporter from our local newspaper came in and was basically doing a story about people patronizing local businesses for the holidays, for gift giving. I'm like, so I answered some questions for him and did some great press for the shop. I'm like, it's literally Halloween. Today children are outside trick-or-treating as we speak, and you want to talk to me about Christmas. I played along, but I didn't like it.
I mean, you could have pulled a Jack Skellington because that's a both Halloween and Christmas movie. So, just saying. What's the song that he says in the middle of the movie? What's this? What's this? Just Say, what's this? I don't know. What's the question? Dave Manley says, my master's thesis was going to be on chaos theory. All the chaotatians that I met in 80s acted just like Goldblum did in Jurassic Park. Crichton and Goldblum did their research, to be sure.
Which means they all were legends in their own mind. I am literally the coolest scientist here, and that's not saying. I mean, science is cool in its own ways, but then also it's very uncool in its others, and we all know what we're talking about there.
Yeah, there you go. And the bottom line is this episode, life finds a way. And I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you who have tuned in for this unorganized chaos that is the meaning of fandom. This has been a blast diving into the past with certain fandoms and certain characters and learning a lot of things that I didn't know before, which has been educational. So, David, where can the person watching or listening to this follow you on social media to keep up to date with all the wonderful things you're doing, David?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Goodreads, I'm on all those things. But if you go to my website, it's Mamina, which is my last name, maminabooks.com. You'll find everything, all my books, my card game, my YouTube channel. It's all on there, guys. And I'd love to share my work with you. So come on down. This is my new boy right here, Death or Valentis. He just came out October 28th. It's about a necromantic figure. He basically raises the dead. He's a villain. But in this case, he decides, or I should say, he agrees to go on a deadly mission to rescue, of all people, his nemesis. It's an awesome adventure, and I'd recommend it because I wrote it.
Gee, I wonder why. No, I'm just kidding. Congratulations on the latest book there, and congratulations on all the wonderful things you're doing, David. Thank you so much for being with us. Do greatly appreciate it, my good friend. George, the Prime Fanatic. My gosh, are you fanatical or what, man? Because you know
it's an appropriate title.
You know way too much for your own good. But if someone wants to dive deeper into the rabbit hole and get more of that pop culture knowledge from you, where can they follow you on social media and all the incredible things that you're doing?
Well, of course, I do have my podcast, Fanatic Forum, which is live Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern on both Facebook. You can find me at George the Fanatic. I'm also on YouTube. Just look for Fanatic Forum on there. But yeah, I go live once a week. Of course, I guest star on podcasts all over the place here as well. So we talk all things geek. I try to come up with a different weekly conversation. Then I also have new comic book reviews I do as well. Because I do work at a comic book store, Clobbering Comics in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So you can come see me in person as well. But yeah, there you go. That's what I am. But the Fanatic Forum is a place for geeks of all shapes, sizes, walks of life, whatever else. If you love something, share your passion with us. The floor is open. All are welcome.
Well, thank you, kind sir. Appreciate you being here. It was great to see you. Wish you all the best of luck with all your shows and the projects and the store and the crew over there at Clobber and Diamond Comics. Yeah. The cream.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, the cream that rises to the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cream of the crop. Nobody does it better. Thank you for being here, kind sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar, just like David is, because David's a teacher and he knows a lot of stuff too. But I feel like David and George, if you put those two together, there's something very important I forgot to tell you. Don't cross the streams. Why? It could be bad. I'm a little fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing. What do you mean bad? Total platonic reversal. Okay, that's bad. All right, thanks, Egon. Anyway, there's a reference there for you from Horror Season. Anybody remember that classic movie? Because it turns 40 next year. Fun fact. Fun fact. There you go, George. You're welcome. So my name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. Feel free to follow me and the not so crazy stuff that David and George know. I know more normal stuff, if you know what I mean. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM. Listen, I'm just joking with you guys. I love you too. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Also, I want to let you know something very special is coming your way. Once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do a great big live stream celebration. It's going to have returning guests such as David, George. They're more than welcome to come back and say hi to you and say hi to all of us here. I'd like to see how they're doing. We're also going to have special guests, and we're going to have special giveaways for you, our incredible subscribers, which includes prints from the art of John Pinto. Look at this print. You can win this thing, and we can send it over to your home, featuring characters from the Doctor Who universe. Oh, my gosh. That's a lot of doctors there, George. My gosh, that's a lot of doctors. Also, you can also walk away with a print like this. Parker, I need those pictures now. Spider-Man going at it with the Green Goblin in Queens, New York, in the city. Or maybe you like something like The War in the Stars, like this guy, Darth Vader or something like that. He's only been around for like almost 50 years. So, hey, The Art of John Pinto, follow him on Instagram and Facebook. He's a good friend of the network, good friend of the show. And those are just some of the prints that you're going to be eligible to win once we reach 1,000 subscribers. Also, we were talking about comic books earlier, and George brought up Captain America, and we brought up a few other characters as well. Legendary comic writer Mark Waid is going to be here. He's going to be here in this virtually with us on Thursday, November the 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter to talk about his incredible career in comics, which spans over 4 decades. Yeah. He's written a thing or two because he knows a thing or two, George. I'm looking at you. And then also, movie anniversary watch-alongs are going to be coming back in the month of November with The Three Musketeers, Miss Doubtfire, and the 007 movie Quantum of Solace. The Nerdy Cantina drops on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we discuss all things Star Wars. I don't know if David and George are familiar with the galaxy far, far away, but, it's only been around for almost 50 years. So, and by the way, David was talking about this earlier, but I'm going to give him a shout-out once again. David V. Mamina's new book, Death or Valentis. Look at that bad boy. It's Happy National Writers Day, so we're going to give a shout-out to all our friends and neighbors who are incredible independent writers and publishers such as David V. Mamina. A whole bunch of other people got books that are out now or coming out soon, so make sure you're following those individuals on social media. And thank you for joining us for this episode of The Meaning of Fandom. The next episode will be announced very, very soon on our social media. So like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified when our new videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when celebrating your favorite fandoms. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
All right, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.